All right, let's go out to Fort Collins, Colorado, and talk to Brian. What's up, Brian?
Hey, Dr. Delony. Glad to be talking with you.
Glad to talk to you, man. What's up?
Okay, 17-year-old daughter, graduating in May. She has been dating her boyfriend for a year and a half. He's also 17. He's also graduating in May. They want to get married.
Oh, boy.
Next August. They'll be 18 by then. They are both planning to go to college, different schools, same area. And my wife and I have a lot of challenges, as you might imagine, around this.
On your behalf, I do too. So, got it.
Yeah, thanks. One of the many questions we have is how much we ought to be paying for an actual wedding ceremony next summer.
I have an immediate response to that, and before I give it, I want to talk through how have your conversations been up until now? Like, how is this conversation addressed? Why do they want to get married so young? What's the hurry? Like, walk me through that.
Yeah, right. Conversations have been plentiful.
Okay.
I think they've been, most everything's on the table.
Okay.
Honesty around this is a struggle. I am scared.
Yeah.
Just shared that with both of them the other night. I said, I'm not angry, I'm scared. And that's what you're seeing.
Yeah.
For your future, because our goal is for them to be successful.
There you go.
If they're going to get married. And we think there's maybe a better time in life to start with better odds, if I will.
Sure.
So the conversations have been good. It's been back and forth. It's starting to feel a little bit like it's a compromise or a negotiation with the timeline. And money's coming up, as you might imagine. They don't have any. And they're not going to have any being in school full time.
Right. Man. I don't need to run through the data with you. You know, statistically, this is going to be a tough one. Okay.
Yes.
I think right now there's kind of a two-prong approach. Number one is the one you're taking, which I absolutely think is right. You're meeting with both of them, right? And saying, hey, we're just worried about you. By the way, before I keep going, what does his parents have to say about this?
School's a priority, for sure. And seemingly less bothered by the timeline.
Okay.
As long as the plan for education and, succeeding there continue, I think we have different outlooks on overall financial support for them. And those have been separated into here, what's school financial support and what is you're deciding to get married at 18 financial support look like a living.
Right.
Surviving.
Have they made a budget? So have you sat down with them to make a budget yet?
Yep. Working on it now. And also handing our daughter some expectations starting in January. Mm-hmm. So while she remains at home, while she adults and moves toward that, she feels what it's like to pay more of her share, to start paying her car insurance in monthly installments. Some of that kind of thing, that's been a point of contention, but it's what we've done with our other kids. We've just had to accelerate this a bit because she's wanting to get married at 18.
Right.
Our other two older ones didn't do that early. We had a different timeline. So we're having to adjust those things as parents, which is, got to tell you, it's been tricky. This is some of the hardest parenting we've done.
Yeah, it sounds like you're navigating it as well as you can. I think a gift to them, so let's take marriage off the table. Let's take something statistically improbable with a high likelihood you get hurt, potentially forever, and a small sliver of success. Let's say your 17-year-old comes to you and says, I'm a world-class athlete, and I'm going to the NFL directly from high school. And I know there's some laws and rules about that, but let's just pretend they could do that. Not laws, but there's some regulations and NFL guidelines and things. But let's say they could just do that. You would be failing your kid if you didn't say, okay, the weight room just got real serious. Like we've been taking it easy on you. because you're going to have to get real strong to head out onto that field. The workouts are going to get heavy. The responsibilities are going to, right? So I think it's important to look at this as like, okay, if this is happening, we're going to prepare you in the best way possible. And part of that is letting this 17-year-old know if you're going to make adult decisions, it's going to come with adult responsibilities, and those responsibilities have consequences to them. So I would be failing you as your dad if I didn't let you have a taste of that, some practice of that before you make this big decision here. And by the way, is she's already thinking about being 18? She's still 17. She still lives in your house, right?
Right.
So,
6 more months. Yeah.
How many?
6 more months before 18. Yep.
Golly, can I tell you, this is not the right answer, but I have a real thing in my gut right now that, well, I think this would be not probably wise parenting. You're hearing me go through this in real time, okay? And I've got several competing things in my mind. I'm just going to speak them out loud. Is that okay?
Please. Thank you.
Thing number one is if you got 6 months, part of me would want to go scorched earth. You can't have contact with this person. I'm cutting off your phone. Like, you still live in my house. And if you want to leave after 6 months, knock your lights out. And I know the hipster cool thing to do would be like, well, you just got to accept it. So let's just ride this out. And part of me says, no, you're 17. You're my child. And I see the semi coming down the road at you. And I'm going to shove you out of the way with 2 hands. And you may even break your arm when you fall, but I'm going to protect you from that car. So part of me in my gut says, go scorched earth. And then the other part of me knows, after working with young people for 20 years, that you have a strong possibility you're going to lose your kid doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I'm thinking of this out loud in real time, and I want people to have a picture of what it looks like to think about something in real time. So I'm going to say this thing that my gut says to do, but probably is not the right thing. The second thing I think is right. You slowly turning up the weight of adulthood. Here's what this looks like. I think the question you're going to have to ask yourself, you and your wife are going to have to ask, is the or what statement. Because if next August comes and you guys have put some hoops that they think that they'll go through, because I've heard it said, when you get married, then you lose college. I'm not paying for college anymore. You're grown up. I'm not paying for your apartment. I'm not paying for any of this stuff. You're married now. I get that. And you also know as well as I do what happens when an 18-year-old just gets let out into the world. Their need to go make money can turn into some really bad choices very, very quickly. And so part of me says, I'm going to put hoop A, I'm going to put hoop B. Like, as long as you're in my house, you got to work full time. Because you think marriage is going to be going on dates and stuff. It's a lot of work because y'all going to have to afford X, Y, and Z. So when you get done for school, you're going to have a full-time job. And you might be able to see him on the weekends, but that's kind of married life too. And so let's just get after it. And y'all come up with a dollar amount. You come up with a support amount. You come up with grades amount, things like that. But if I'm speaking honestly and openly, I think if they want to get married at 18, I have to make a choice. Me and my wife have to make a choice is do we want to be a part of these photographs or not? And I will probably choose to stand by my kid's side and give them the best chance of success. But that doesn't mean I'm going to throw a $150,000 wedding.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we really agree with you. I'm so glad that we're chatting because several things you've said have been either intuition or we've already started talking. And it's a dance, right, to support and love our kids. And if I want to be successful, of locking them out and not joining them is the wrong recipe for me personally. I think I'll be by their side.
It's wrong across the board, and I can't tell you I cannot count the number of parents who their kid who came to me when I was working at the university and sat down. This kid's 18 to 25-year-olds and said, "Mom, I'm pregnant. Mom, I'm gay. Mom, I'm dropping out of school. Mom, I can't be a lawyer because I flunked out." And how many moms and dads have come back and said, "I would do anything to have my initial reaction back and have it be anything other than I love you and I'm here." And so I think your intuition is right. I think it's psychologically accurate. I think it's philosophically accurate. I think it's theologically for my particular beliefs. I know what yours are, but mine it's accurate. I also think just signing up for this is so great, as though they were 26 and they've graduated college and they have financial security. that's not wise either, because you're setting them up for a fairy tale that's going to come to a crashing halt, right?
Yeah, I think that's right on, Doctor, is finding that balance of real world expectations, a little bit of I'm going to say a sting. I don't even mean it to sting, but a reality check over the next several months of what this looks like. And then after that, it's tuition help, but then it's emotional support.
Right.
It really is, because I don't. By the way, I didn't budget the next 3 years for this. So,
well,
Dad doesn't pivot either.
Yeah, and I also I think now's a beautiful moment to say to your future potential. And now let's be honest. When I was 17, I signed a 100% track scholarship at a university out of state. 100%. I had the season of my life, and then I dropped the baton in first place, and I ended up losing the district track meet for our team by 1 point for the first loss in a decade. I then didn't ever want to step on a track again. I met a girl at a summer camp and moved states to pay to go to college. I ended up with a small scholarship and joined their track team a little bit later. But all that to say is, who knows what happens in the life of an 18-year-old the next, year from now, right? But it can sure feel heavy right this second, right? So I want to hold that a little bit loosely, but also prepping for, hey, this is what this is going to look like. We didn't plan for this. We didn't prep for this. And so you're not going to get $150,000. We're not going to blow the top off here. And by the way, this is my money. You don't have an entitled right to it. Son-in-law, my expectation for the man who marries my daughter is that we meet for breakfast once a week. That's happening. And I think you begin to treat him like the man he thinks he already is. If you're going to marry my daughter, you will meet with me once a week. But here's book number 1. How to be a good, and you find a great book about being a man and provision and expectation and being a good partner. I think you set the stage for him. And there is the daughter part, and there's the raising the daughter part, and she's my kid. But I think there's a looking across the table at him and letting him feel the expectation. My father-in-law did that, and we lived in different cities, but he did it in a unique way that I felt a responsibility to take care of his daughter. And by the way, she's smarter than me. She was making more money than me at the time. So that's not what I mean by taking care of. But I meant you better be a person of fidelity, and you better show up.
Yeah, I love that idea. He asked for her hand last week.
Okay.
And I brought something like you set up, so you just affirmed my gut on that, and that's something that I think he's going to say yes to. I think he would get that. And the thing you didn't say, which really is important to me, is it begins creating a space for me to love my new son.
There you go. And I wasn't going to say it because I wanted you to have to back into it, but this is going to be for you too. Because at some point, your kids, the hardest thing in the world, I say this all the time, the hardest thing in the world is when you love another adult and that adult is in your life and they're making decisions that you project out are not going to be good for them. Whether it's our elderly parents, the way they spend their money, or whether it's our siblings not saving money or messing with substance abuses, or our 18-year-old kids deciding, hey, we're going to go do a really adult thing without any understanding of what's coming next. Yeah, but you making peace with it over time. I don't know that you making peace with it, but I think it's maybe you raising him up, and he doesn't sound like he has a dad that's doing that. I love the idea with you saying, I'm not prepared to give you my blessing, but I'm going to, and you sit down and you meet him, and dude, I would challenge you to give him as direct eye contact as you could possibly muster. And I don't mean this in a pissing contest or like an old Texas Mail kind of thing. I mean, he needs to understand the weight of what he is taking on. He is asking to join with your daughter and for him to become the most important man in your life. And you are not just going to open your hand to that willy-nilly, right? And so I think there's something about saying, I'm not prepared to give you my blessing, but you can earn it. And I think you're a good young man, but from this point forward, and I put a date on it, June 1st. If you meet me for a book study, You show up and help me with X, Y, and Z. You show me that you know what a budget is. You show me that you can honor my daughter in X, Y, Z. When you present how y'all are going to manage college costs and without taking a bunch of stupid student loans out, you can manage housing, you can manage some of these things, then absolutely. But just because you love her and you're 17, that's not enough for my blessing.
Love that. Yeah, I really love that. And then helps us, my wife and I, pivot. It's really been about our daughter, as you might imagine, and trying to figure all that out. But I think it's a her and scenario. It really is about him now. It's game on. And it, foundationally, it's still about what do we need to do to give them the best chance for success against those odds that you mentioned, which are very searchable and findable, by the way.
Oh yeah,
divorce rates in America.
So,
so it really feels aligned with our value set.
And I think people are going to listen to this, by the way, and I want to be real clear. I had some coaches in my life. I've had some mentors that have challenged me on an athletic field, have challenged me across a table, have challenged me nose to nose. And it was never me versus them. It was them with me, calling me to something bigger than I even knew I was entering into. And so I think you saying, I'm not ready to give you my blessing yet, because just because you like my daughter, by the way, 17-year-old, you don't even have a clue as to what love is. You bury a grandparent or a parent, you go through a pregnancy, you go through law. Now we're talking love. But at 17, you like my daughter a lot. I get that. So you're not ready for my blessing. Here's a roadmap to get it. Game on. And that is not you challenging him and sitting on the front porch with a shotgun. That's stupid. But that is you eye to eye, nose to nose, chest to chest, calling him in. Right? And that's a totally different ballgame. And I think being very, very clear with your daughter. Here is the dollar amount that we can afford. We have not prepped or planned for this, and we don't have, period. Here is what your next 6 months will look like being a 17-year-old in our home with the intention of swan diving into adulthood. Here you go. If you don't meet this, I'll walk with you to the courthouse. I'll walk with you down the aisle. But my dollars and cents are not going to participate in this.
Thank you for that. And so we're about to hand her in writing, because she requested that, so that was smart, the money part.
Yep.
And what that allows, the 6 or 8 months allows, is a chance for that to be a learning, but also a reconsideration of choices if she and he want to reconsider timelines.
Yeah. And tell them.
We're done with that fight. If that's it, that's it. But
cool.
here's how we're going to show up, and we love you. And so maybe there's some influence with that. But
and I also I wouldn't be opposed to saying, and you wait till 21 and call it, and y'all have your diplomas in hand. Here's the number I'm going to put on the table for your wedding. And by the way, if that sways them, that tells you how their maturity level, right?
Yeah. We've wondered about that a little bit, and carrot stick mentality, and it feels like really close to manipulation.
Here's the
beauty. We want to manipulate a good outcome.
It's your money. Do whatever you want to with it.
Yeah.
You don't owe anybody anything. Period. There's millions and millions and millions and millions of dads in your situation that would love to help their 25-year-old. Their 35-year-old daughters get married. They have no money. And so the fact that you have some doesn't mean she's entitled to it. I don't think it's manipulation at all. I think it's very, very wise to say, Dad, because I live by a budget, your mom and I will be able to put $7,500 towards a ceremony in August, period. If you borrow a penny more on a credit card, you will lose access to all $7,500, period. I'm not going to participate in you starting an already very challenging relational endeavor in the hole financially. I'm not. I can't support that. I'll be there. I'll stand by you. But I can't watch you start off in the hole like that. You can do whatever you want. And then say, if you wait till you're 21 and both of y'all have your degrees, I'll make it $50,000. And maybe she calls your bluff, dude, and you got to save some money over the next 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah, you're a mind reader too, aren't you?
But listen, statistically speaking, they won't make it through college dating. And if they do, good for them. Good for them.
Yeah.
But I don't want you to. I don't want you to ever succeed. I don't want you to ever lose sight of this is our money, and never let her know. Like always, let her know I will be at any courthouse you go to get married. I'll be wherever you are. My participation in that, though, is going to vary based on what I believe is your ability to pull this thing off.
Got it.
And those are two separate things. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Will you call me and let me know how it goes?
We will certainly try.
I love, in fact, I've never thought of this, and I think I'm gonna try to implement it. He may tell me to go pound sand, but I love the idea of somebody comes to marry, let's say some guy wants to marry my daughter, and he asks for my blessing. I love the idea of saying, you and I are going to read this book together first, and we're going to meet over breakfast or whatever. And if you live in another state, then I'm going to fly out there. I'm going to meet with you. This is that important to me. I want you to feel how important my daughter is. And if I can't afford a plane ticket at that time, I'm going to drive across the country, and you and I are going to sit in a cafe for a while. And I'm going to ask you questions about love and fidelity and your pornography use. And I'm going to ask you questions about budgets and prospective education and prospective work careers. I'm going to ask you the questions that probably nobody asked you. And there's not going to be perfect answers to them, but I want you to know what I expect of myself and what I'm going to expect of the person who marries my child. My child can marry whoever she wants to. I can't do anything about that. But if you want my blessing, that's on me. That's on me. Blessings to you, good man. I'll be thinking about you guys. Whew. Hey, quick lesson. Stand by your kids, especially when it's hard. Stand by your kids.